Okay, looks like we have some people here. Just wanted to get started with today's session on the Sage HR, engaging, retaining, and managing your employees with the Sage HR Cloud solution, presented here by Asyma Solutions, as well as the Sage HR Cloud team. Wanted to introduce myself. Many of you know me, Rob Greeno with Asyma Solutions. I'm an account manager. Most recently, within the past year, I have now become a partner with Asyma Solutions. So part of my daily job is to make sure our customers are highly educated and aware of what technology is available for their business and organizations, and just continual improvement on what's available and how we can help customers with their Sage 300 and making it more effective and efficient and really streamlining operations. So I wanted to thank everybody for taking the time to register for this webinar, and we're looking forward to presenting the Sage HR Cloud solution and how it can help your business and or organization succeed. I already introduced myself. I'd like to also introduce AJ. He's going to be doing the presentation of like the actual demo walkthrough of the Sage HR Cloud solution. Just wanted to take care of some housekeeping items as well. We have questions pane on the right side of the webinar here to go and ask questions. Please feel free to ask any questions throughout the webinar, and we'll get those answered towards the end. We're also going to follow up with you within 3 days to answer your questions if we aren't able to get to it during today's webinar. Everybody that's attended or registered for the webinar is also going to get a recording of the webinar to take a look at again if you've missed it, or if you have anybody else within your business or organization that you think would find value from taking a look. So for today's agenda, we're getting into really the world of work and how that has changed. Obviously with COVID, there's been a higher than normal demand to move to more cloud solutions where you can access information, whether it be accounting or HR or payroll related, from basically anywhere with an internet connection. And being able to work freely and have information at a timely manner, also having accurate information and real-time information available at your fingertips is just becoming a norm nowadays where businesses and organizations have this as a requirement. We're going to go through why Sage HR as a solution, and then take everyone through a demonstration of the Sage HR Cloud software solution. And then finally going to finish that off by looking at the Sage 300 connector that connects to the Sage 300 system, and then have some time for questions and answers where we'll go through the questions that were asked through the chat, as well as any questions that may be asked towards the end of the presentation as well. So what we wanted to start with is some polling questions, just to really kind of get some information from you, the viewer, on what you're currently experiencing. And what we wanted to know for poll number one is what you're currently using for HR management or capital management, or whatever you may call it within your business or organization. Could you please select one of the following selections here, and we will go from there. All right, thank you guys for entering your answers in there. We'll get to the results later on as well. The next poll we're going to get into is, what is your biggest HR pain point? And again, we have a number of selections to choose from, whether it be performance management, workforce management, being able to do it remotely or locally, timesheets, shift management, recruitment, expenses. Please select one as what would be your biggest HR pain point. Great, thank you for your feedback on that one as well. Next, we're going to get into briefly going over the world and how work has changed within the different environments, especially with COVID, and just really the technology and where it's going. So being able to have remote access, having higher expectations between your staff and personnel on the information that they're having readily available throughout your organization, being able to access technology through mobile applications, being able to work day or night anywhere in the world where you have more of this flexible work environment because you don't have to go into work to access these information systems. And having them where it's fully tech enabled, that makes life a lot easier to use solutions, more cost effective solutions, and having that cloud aspect where it's available from anywhere. So whether or not you're having issues with entering data into spreadsheets and keeping those spreadsheets up to date and making sure calculations are correct, and having that information or those spreadsheets readily available to everybody within your organization. Being able to organize employee payroll, whether or not you have one HR person or an HR department. The more employees you have, the more complex these requirements get in terms of HR and payroll. So it's being able to schedule employee holidays and their benefits and managing overtime and flex time and all that kind of stuff, which we're going to get into here when AJ does the demonstration. But many of these traditional HR departments are plagued with these time-consuming tasks, and that's really where the Sage HR Cloud solution is gonna provide a lot of those benefits and values to your business or organization. All right, so in the current state of HR for employees, 65% of employees are rethinking the place that they should have, the work should have in their lives. There's up to 75% increase in year-over-year turnover rate. That should be expected. And for managers, we're looking at 59% of HR leaders that say building critical skills and competencies is a top priority for them in 2022. 69% of their time is spent on activities that can be replaced by automation. So again, getting into that duplicate and triplicate data entry, those manual Excel files or Word files or paper files within your office or organizations. How is anybody going to access that when you're maybe working from home or remotely and you need timely access to information such as that? So technology is essential to address these issues, and I believe that what we're going to show you with the Sage HR Cloud is going to really highlight those areas that can be improved and streamlined. So what we see as new challenges for HR professionals across the board, whether it be how to manage performance, onboarding or offboarding, how to manage employee relations, how to keep employees connected, engaged, and motivated, how to help employees be successful while they're working remotely, and then finally, how to manage flexible working hours to optimize productivity. So again, technology is essential to addressing these challenges. So what I'd like to do now is I'm going to quit talking and I'm going to allow AJ to take everybody through the actual Sage HR Cloud solution, just to give you a good look and feel of what this technology is and where the world is heading in terms of cloud HR solutions. Take it away, AJ.
That's great, Rob. Thanks so much for the introduction, as well as that background and insight on the HR industry out there and what customers that you're dealing with too are facing as challenges. My name is AJ Patel here at Sage HR, and I work with our existing customers as well as our newer customers with onboarding and ensuring they're maximizing the benefits and using the solution that we are going to be demonstrating today called Sage HR. I am the customer success consultant here, and it's my pleasure to be able to demonstrate and show some functionality to you all. What we're going to do is start off with taking a look at some of those poll results here. And again, thanks for everyone for submitting their responses. The first question that we did ask was, what are you currently using for your HR management as part of a solution? And let me get those answers on the screen here. And you should be able to see that. It looks like 50-50 with Excel or manual processes or no processes. And potentially some other solution not listed there. And I'd encourage everyone who did respond with other as a HR tool that they might be using to share that in the questions section within our chat here. It will provide some insights on what you might be using and how we might be able to help fill some gaps as well as drive our demonstration. So do feel free to chime in and answer that detail on what other solution you might be using. And the second question we had asked was, what is your biggest HR pain point? Those day-to-day tasks that you're working on. And as we see, many of you might be coming off Excel spreadsheets or other solutions. And in the responses, let's see how that was. We see about 67% have concerns around timesheets and shift management, being able to potentially track that, and coming off of perhaps Excel, it's a bit of a manual effort and process there, while 33% are looking at recruitment, trying to figure out the best way or solution to help automate and enhance that solution there. So definitely looking at discussing these topics and modules within the Sage HR application as part of our demonstration today. And just as we dive into talking about Sage HR, Sage HR is a cloud-based solution. It's very important for us to highlight that. And speaking with Rob, he indicated that we certainly want to make sure we've reiterated that. And so as we dive into looking at the demonstration, you'll be able to see it's completely cloud-based. It's accessible on a web device, web browser, as well as on your mobile devices as well. And as a solution, it helps manage your people and streamlining and automating your entire HR process from end to end. And it creates those engaging, rewarding experiences for your employees. As we start looking at topics and modules within our Sage HR application, we're going to be highlighting a few of the key areas that you're able to engage and further work with your staff within the application as well. Now, why Sage HR? We have about 5 bullets here. As we mentioned, it's a cloud-based solution that enables you to engage, retain, and get the very best out of your team members. It increases workforce visibility, collaboration, which is a key aspect of Sage HR, and access to that information across the entire workforce. We'll be able to identify what levels of access your end users or your employees may have, as well as your admins or specific managers within different departments as well. Sage HR helps automate those repetitive tasks, sending out notifications or alerts, prompts on the screen, as well as helping reduce those costs and increasing your productivity. And last but not least here, Sage HR helps develop and maintain a healthy corporate culture and enabling you to retain your top talent and reaching your goals. And when we talk about those goals, they could be your organization goals, team goals, as well as individual goals as well. And with that, in a few moments, we'll take a look at the Sage HR application. What I did want to do here is just take a moment to outline the different topics and modules that are available within our solution here. To start off, we have a core platform called Core HR. It allows you to manage documents with your staff, allows them to log in, as well as enter information or update their personal information, should you wish to allow them to do that, post announcements to share with your staff, set up an organization chart, build workflows and automations to trigger emails or tasks to individuals based on specific data that's been added or updated, automate your onboarding process as well as the offboarding process as well, track compensation, salary, assets within your organization, and I may have mentioned that you certainly have access to a mobile app that your staff can use too. With that, we've actually included the leave management component in Core. We've identified it's a fundamental component within HR solutions is being able to track leave requests by your staff, setting up policies, identifying how many days are available to your team members in different groups or positions to be carried over in the new year as well, having them log in and submit a request, have it sent to someone automatically for approval, and then be able to log that information for auditing purposes as well. So our core functionality is actually all what you see here, these two modules. On top of that, we have add-on modules specifically around performance management, getting the very best out of your team, and that's where you'll be able to set up goals or OKRs for your organization, your team members and individuals as well, set up one-to-one meetings, track survey responses, get some quick feedback, and essentially develop your staff as well. Shift scheduling and timesheets are two separate modules. Some of our organizations require the need to set up shifts and assign them out to staff, replicate that schedule across many weeks in the future, set up shifts that team members can then go and grab and assign to themselves, have staff members be able to put in some blackout periods when they're not going to be taking on any shifts, and that is one of the components we have within the CHR application. Timesheets, an interface where you might preload times, hours for your staff, whether they're full-time or part-time, or have difference in their standard hours that they might be working across a 7-day or a different time frame. Being able to use your mobile device to either clock in and clock out multiple times during the day, or go to the web browser and clock in and out. And of course, generating some reports to identify what is this team member going to be paid out for as far as payroll purposes as well. And of course, with timesheets, we have automation that will allow you to have someone go in and approve or submit for approval the timesheet information that's being sent to. And we'll, as part of our demonstration today, we will touch on showcasing the shift scheduling and timesheets modules, as was highlighted as a pain point for some of the participants on this call. Expense management, being able to upload a receipt to the mobile app as well as on the web browser, populate information and submit it for approval so that eventually that employee can get paid out as well. Recruitment was one of the other key areas that individuals were interested in seeing more of and improving within their organization. An end-to-end pipeline management system to post job ads out there, have responses get inserted directly into an environment within Sage HR so that your team members that are flagged with access can review those resumes, critique and add some comments internally, reach out to those candidates and identify how you might be able to book some time with them to have various interviews in person or online, as well as rank and rate your candidates. And eventually the goal is to submit someone for an approval and be eventually hired on board and transition them to the core HR application as well. So we'll dive into that module as well. And all in all, we do want to reiterate and highlight that the application is a modern, intuitive, cloud-based application. And I look forward to demonstrating that in a moment. Well, with that, we're going to dive right into the demonstration. I welcome and encourage any questions you might have on the fly to throw into the chat. We are most likely going to save those for the end, about 10 minutes toward the end of the solution, but I have colleagues reviewing those questions and they'll chime in and share that with me as well. So with that, we're going to dive right into our Sage HR application. And what you see here on the screen is my fictitious company here, the Overlook Hotel, where myself, AJ, is the CEO. So you will expect to see I have access to a lot of content, a lot of functionality, and your end users that may be using the application will have, of course, limited views and access. What you see on the screen here is the dashboard. Perhaps I might log into the interface, of course, fully web accessible, and navigate and see. I have some tasks assigned to me as a approver, or in my case, the CEO here. I have various approval requests for holidays, expenses that have been submitted and have been assigned to me automatically, some performance review content that I need to provide feedback for. Again, tasks key to your individuals. And you can set up automation to trigger specific tasks based on data that's been added or updated in the application. And it's quite exciting to see customers and their specific needs on what they'd like to have triggered. And that is something that is available for you to be able to do based on an engine that's been built out. Completely user-friendly. Your users as administrators will be able to go in and select what they want to trigger, when they want to trigger, and who they want to trigger it to. So automation is very key here, and you can certainly set that up as well. As I scroll down here, in my interface here, I've enabled clocking in and clocking out functionality. You can see I've just clocked in about 3 hours so far. And again, this can be turned on and off. And this is part of our timesheets module that'll preload, in my case, the hours that I've logged for today. I'll go ahead and restart that. And various components and modules here. We talked about our core HR functionality with the leave management interface here. And in my case here as an employee, I can see my balance on what I have available as far as sick leave and holiday that's been set up. You can see various policies have been set up here. As customers, you'd be able to set up your own policies, have various rules and automation tied to them as well. Call them whatever you like, allocate as many days as you'd like, flag whether or not they can get carried over and what's the hard cutoff for that carryover as well. And we'll dive into that in a few moments as well. But certainly here, you're empowering your staff to be able to log in, see what balances they have at any given time, and of course, be able to submit time off requests too. While I'm here on the screen, I'm going to go ahead and click on this quick add interface here, and you can see as an employee, I might wish to add some time off, add a new expense, add some tasks, or as a administrator, perhaps add a new employee. I'll go here and perhaps just add in one time off request. And as an administrator, I can go in and do this for any staff, but you would expect your end users would only be able to add their own time off, of course. I'll look at taking some holiday, perhaps one day off, and let's take that later in the year. We'll take one day off, but as you can see, you can take off multiple days or part days as well. You have the opportunity to add any additional fields here, mark them as required, as well as force the need to upload a file or a document if that was your desire, and you certainly have that configuration capability there as well. I'll go ahead and submit this, and what you would expect to see is this has triggered a notification to the manager of this employee, and in my case, myself, to action on this, either approve it or decline it. And as you can see, it's been added to my dashboard as well here. I can easily approve it or decline it, or review the detail in there, and we do a pretty good job here of logging all the history on that. So as you expect, you'd be able to see comments, the back and forth, why it might be declined or what information is required. You do have the ability to force some configuration, the interest to say, if I'm taking time off, I need to flag someone that's going to be my replacement for that day. You can use that option to enable that need as well. Go ahead and approve that request, and certainly notify the employee. So as you can see, for leave management, the staff is empowered to put in time off requests. Management is able to then see who's submitting requests and automatically approve them as well. This, of course, will funnel into timesheets as well, so you can see who's off on certain days and potentially get paid out for those days off as well. So that was a quick look at our leave management interface. We'll take a look at how you can set up that and configure it in a moment as well. While we're on the screen off to the side, you'll notice there's a search field here. Easily find staff and navigate to their record if required. And of course, this is limited to the functionality around admins and team managers who need to be able to access content for their team and staff. Off to the side here, we have the various modules and components. As I mentioned earlier, I have access to all the functionality here, so there's a lot here, but you do have the ability to flag which staff have access to specific components and modules. You may not want everyone is submitting expenses, and you certainly have the ability to flag and control who have access to that as well. While we're here on the screen, we're going to take a look at a couple key features and components of our core application within Sage HR. Calendar functionality, great way to engage your staff, be able to see who's going to be off or out of the office as well. In my case here, I can not only see myself listed here, but all team members across various departments. In the Overlook Hotel here, I have a housekeeping team, and as you expect, there's specific managers who can manage those individuals. I can see the full staff listed there. The kitchen team, these are those that belong there. And you might wish to say, hey, I want all of the kitchen team members to see everyone else. And you would be able to restrict what information they can see there as well. You could filter that off as well. A lot of flexibility on how you can view this calendar. And as you expect, if anyone is taking some time off or has been noted in the calendar, you can sync that with your own calendar. So functionality is available for that. I would like to call that automated integration, but it's certainly out of the box and available to you as well. Great feature here around announcements. Another way to engage your staff while logging in, they'd be able to see any bulletin board postings that you have. I call it bulletin board postings, but of course it's just announcements here. Certainly this is passed, and I can certainly mark that one hidden. But you can see there's some barbecue information coming up for our team event. Again, great way to engage your staff. You can add announcements, trigger those out as email notifications in their inbox, come back to the system and identify who's actually seen the posting, as well as give your staff the ability to respond using emojis. Let's put a rocket on there and tag individuals and comment on there too. So again, a great way to engage your staff and ensure that collaboration and communication is always open. And of course, you can see who's actually come in here and viewed that announcement as well. Again, part of our core HR functionality. What I'll do now is navigate into my profile. Again, I'll be an administrator, so I'll see a bit more. But as you would expect, you have a lot of information that could be stored against your, in support of your employees. On this particular tab here, you'll notice I have some employee information that's listed out here. employee status, who their manager is, what teams they belong to, various fields of data. And you do have the ability to go in and add custom fields, mark those fields as hidden or editable or viewable by individual staff members. Great way to capture any other information that you need to. That was the employee level record there. We have, of course, personal information there. And here, this is a great way to be able to get your staff to update that information. You know, they can go in and update their mailing information, enter any other information. In my case here, I have additional information tied around who their children are, and you may choose to enable that option there as well. Some private notes you may wish to store against your employees as well, documents that need to be uploaded, and you have the ability to do that. Again, kind of reiterating here, this information is not visible by your end users. It's only visible by admins and managers belonging to that specific team member. Conversely, document management is a great way to load information again for your employees and share it with them as well. So you might have expense information, which, by the way, automatically loads into here. Once that employee has uploaded information on expenses, they can submit content, upload code of conduct, policies, and documents. You have this ability to store that as a repository for your employees individually. With that said, you also have the ability to take advantage of signable e-documents and e-signatures as well. So you can upload a document, send it out to multiple individuals or one specific individual, have them specifically sign off on it, and it would get notified to the appropriate individuals and included as a file within the application here as well. Asset management, upload a spreadsheet of all your laptops, your mobile devices, and equipment within your organization, and assign them out to your staff. You can flag individuals as administrators for assets, as well as trigger notifications on which assets need to be recovered when an employee is flagged as leaving or being terminated. Great way to take advantage of managing your assets. Yet another component here is around training. You may wish to track certain training that needs to be completed, mark its stages, its status, when it was done, and be able to report on that as well. Everything I've shown so far is part of our core functionality, the baseline of what you'd like to be able to do in managing your employees and collect all that information around HR needs. And I'll skim through a few of these that you see here as well. A very key area is around the time off as well. And here's where that employee would have access to see their balances and sort of the richer detail around what they've taken off. We saw it on our dashboard, but this goes into a bit more detail for the team member here. You could track what the balance is, how much has been occurred, as well as override that. So you may wish to add an additional few days. You can certainly set up policies where you might say, give an extra 1 day for every 5 years of service, or at the end of 10 years, give another X number of days. And we do allow that rich configuration flexibility within the application, which we'll take a look at in a moment as well. And as I mentioned previously, a rich audit trail is tracked within the application of who approved it, when it was approved, when it was declined, why it was declined, and all the information around that, which you can, of course, report on as well. So that was a look at some of the employee information there. You did notice I skimmed through a few other modules and topics, and those would be tied to some of the add-on modules that we'll touch on in a brief moment as well. But that, what I'll do is now go into sort of our settings area here. As an administrator, you would expect your HR staff to be able to configure the application. I stem away from saying customize, but rather configure. And Sage HR over the years has done a great job of adding a lot of options to allow our customers to be empowered to enable rich functionality or disable it. And out of the box, happy to say a lot of that is available here. On this secondary column, which is available to admins and those who have access, you'll see various modules and configuration options here. Drilling into the time off option here, you'll notice that there's going to be various policies. And for Canadian customers, of course, we preloaded a bunch here. I don't have all of those visible here, but you would expect to see certain time off policies already enabled, but you can go in and configure them as well. So I'll actually drill into my holiday for full-time, which, by the way, you could rename to whatever you'd like, color-code it as desired, put in some description information. But as we look at this page here, you'll see there's a lot of rich configuration options here. I've chosen, in my case, for this policy, to give 120 hours, accrue it annually, and give it up front. It might expire on April. Actually, I'll change that to January 1st. That was for a fiscal year setting I had changed. And carry over a certain amount. I've indicated 30 hours, which expire at the end of 3 months. You can do this configuration for any of your policies. And as we drill in deeper to that, you flag a lot more. So I won't go into all this, but I'll take this opportunity to talk a bit about our onboarding, which, by the way, is there's no additional costs for onboarding the application, nor is there any for support. As part of our onboarding, we typically provide 4 to 6 one-hour virtual sessions such as this, working with the customer to understand their current processes and how they might be able to implement that within the Sage HR application. We talked through the various modules with the interest to definitely go live and introduce the application to your end user and your staff, of course. With that said, as part of onboarding, that is particularly one of my roles as well. Our support staff, on that note, is accessible through online chat. No additional costs or fees associated to that as well. You'd be able to have access to over 450 support articles on various topics, modules, and commonly asked questions, and see some immediate responses that the system will provide to you. That said, you also have the ability to request a live engagement with one of our team members. And we do have North American-based, bilingual speaking English and French team members that are available to provide live chat support. And through that, my role here as a customer success consultant is to work with our customers directly on providing ongoing training opportunities, as well as working with customers to understand how they might be interested in taking their use of the application to the next step or next stage. And that's engaging them with training, providing feedback on how they're currently using the solution, as well as collecting feedback on support services, as well as their feedback on enhancing the application. And happy to say that our application gets updated quite regularly. At least once a month, you'll see some new features. And through this chat here, you'll get some automated notifications as administrators or as end users on being able to take advantage of new features and changes within the application. So again, to reiterate, no additional costs for onboarding, as well as ongoing support. Close that away there. And that, again, was a look at our time off policies. A lot of rich configuration options and setting across various topics and modules. You can set up your various teams, identify positions, or set up your org chart, preload your own termination reasons, so you can report on that as well. And I hope this gives you some insights on the ability to configure and customize the application to meet your needs as well. That said, I'll take this opportunity to dive into timesheets, shift scheduling, as well as a quick look at the recruitment process as well. Some great functionality that will tie into that. I welcome the opportunity for you to continue feeding any questions you may have, and we'll revisit those as well in a few moments. So as highlighted, key area of the application you're interested in seeing to help resolve some pain points is timesheets and shift scheduling. I'd like to start off with timesheets here. And it is, again, an add-on module that you may wish to subscribe to. As an administrator here, I have access to be able to see the timesheets for all of not only the staff members, but all team members as well. And you would expect your individual employees can limit their view and only see their own timesheets. And in my case here, you can see I've set up a semi-monthly timesheet schedule here. You have flexibility to set it up weekly or monthly or semi-monthly or bi-weekly if desired as well. In my case, I've preloaded timesheet information. So I've suggested in my case for this employee, it's a certain start date time and end time with an hour break and logging 8 hours typically. So it's preloading that information. And here you would expect your staff to be able to go in, verify those hours and submit it for approval, which of course triggers an email notification for the manager in this case to go in and review and approve that. Or in my case, I may wish to adjust that and add in that additional 2 hours that I logged on the weekend, and you do have the ability to restrict that or enable that option as well. I'll go ahead and log that. And in my case here, we flag that is extra hours beyond the standard hours for this particular employee. And again, a lot of configuration options are available within the application that we would work with you to showcase during our onboarding as well. And having reviewed that, I may wish to submit that. See, I worked less on Tuesday and added a few hours there. So I'll go ahead and just approve that. Configuration option available as well is to be able to decide whether or not you want to allow your staff to just get paid out on additional hours or log that as time off in lieu that they may wish to take, and go ahead and do that. So again, as a end user, you can give them access to configure this, or you can give your managers access to be able to pay them out or log it in time in lieu. Again, very rich, flexible functionality on being able to do that. So I've gone ahead and submitted this timesheet. Again, if I chose to enable the clock in, clock out functionality, I can use my mobile app to do that. I can go to the dashboard and enable that, and you can clock in multiple times, and you can see that information preloaded. Some of our customers have said they have different hours allocated across 7-day or a 14-day schedule, and we do have rich flexibility around that as well. That was a look at our timesheets. What I'd like to do now is jump into shift scheduling to give some insights on that. Again, not something that all customers in their particular industry or organization might be interested in, but certainly some additional add-on functionality that you might wish to subscribe to. In my case, again, here I have access to see all my team members within the organization. You might suggest that you only want managers of certain departments or groups to be able to see their staff and manage the shifts for that staff members. And you certainly have that flexibility here. What I've done here is assigned some room cleaning shifts to myself and my assistant manager here. I can take those shifts as a shift manager or a shift administrator and drag and drop and move that around. Let's move that over to Carrie. I can also clone the shifts as well. So having clicked on that, I'll click on the shift and the control key. I think there's some restrictions, of course, that I've added there, but I can move these shifts across. So you can see I've just very easily cloned that shift, assigned that in draft form to AJ here, and I'll just go ahead and recursively add that to a feed. So as a shift manager, set up some shifts here. I can drill into those and modify them on the fly. And these are actually part of a template. Room cleaning is a specific template that you might have added. Starts at 6 a.m., finishes at 2 p.m. with 1 hour. I can add some details, assign it through various capacity as well. I can go in on the fly and just add a manual shift, give it a name, set its start and time, end times as well, or assign a specific preloaded shift there as well. And again, as I indicated, you can go in and edit a predefined shift as well and change the hours on that as well. We'll get him to stay there another 30 minutes. Now, all shifts are flagged as unpublished until you're happy with what you see. You can go ahead and publish that, and that will shoot out a notification by email summarizing those shifts that have been added to the staff. As part of configuration, you can go in and say, allow staff to decline or reject or cancel shifts. You might say, no, we don't want them to do that. They might need to just contact someone and review that process to decline it, and you can certainly go through that process. You can see the shading on this has changed, and that means it's a published shift. Now, having set that up, I might wish to apply that going forward, and I can actually click on this icon here and copy that schedule. Choose to copy it to one single week or multiple weeks in the future. Go ahead and do that. And now I have effectively chosen specific employees or all and applied their shifts across. Now there's actually some time off requests that I suspect myself have taken in coming weeks. So as a result, it's indicated that we've not copied those over. And you'd be able to, of course, go in and see those shifts and what's actually been assigned. Could see AJ was off on this particular day, so that shift was not assigned there. Of course, email notifications will go out accordingly to the staff members, and they'd be able to see that they've been assigned those shifts as well. So let's look at our shift scheduling. I encourage or welcome any questions along the way. It's based on what you've seen here, and we can certainly revisit that as well. But this does provide some rich functionality around assigning shifts, and we do have the capabilities also to have the manager set up some shifts and allow team members to go in and grab those shifts and assign it for themselves. Grabbing them, as well as marking as an employee shift time periods that I will not be available or I do not want to be assigned shifts, putting blackout periods as well, and staff can do that as well. So that was a look at scheduling as well as timesheets that we saw previously. We're just nearing the 45-minute mark on our session here, so I hope to give us a quick overview of our recruitment interfaces and then leave the last 10 minutes to go deeper into any of the questions that have been shared, as well as answer any questions that there may be. So with that, we're going to dive into recruitment. Our recruitment interface here allows an organization to set up job postings that they may wish to embed on their website or create as a landing page that they may wish to share with social media, third-party sites as well, allowing, and let's pull in one of those, the sous chef one that I have here. And I'll actually preview the application page. This is a freestanding URL that you can certainly share publicly, have candidates navigate to this particular page, see the job posting, and apply. You can flag what fields you want to capture, ask any type of question in there, as well as have the opportunity for the applicant to go in and enter in their resume or cover letter or whatever other content you wish for them to upload. They would then click on apply. Once that has been done by the candidate, all that information will funnel back into that specific job posting. You can, of course, create multiple job postings and have everything come in here. Email notifications will get triggered based on the new candidate that has just applied to that candidate. You may wish to flag through a rich set of an array of permissions that we have, team members that are flagged as hiring managers or interview managers, identify what access they have. Can they see all the rich information, or can they only go in and see the applicants, comments that you wish to add against your employees? So I'll go into Dominic Richards here. I could see that this is some of the information that was submitted. There is a resume that was uploaded as a PDF format, and that's visible through the application here. Identify any other information that may have been captured through the online application. Myself, as perhaps a hiring manager, go in and add information, add comments that are, of course, private to the application as well. Flag a scorecard for this individual. You'd be able to define what you want to track as a score for your candidates at various stages as well. Add some tasks that you may wish to assign for these candidates as well. And of course, have your email communications managed throughout the application as well. So actually trigger an email from the application on the fly. Thank you for your resume, or automate that as part of the various stages in the pipeline that you'll want to manage, as well as set up interviews with your team candidates as well. And of course, assigning tasks to various team members within Sage HR, so give them the opportunity to review specific job postings and candidates as well. You can use the application to schedule those interviews as well. And again, everything is triggered through email notification to the candidates as well, and all reported back within here as well. You can reject and approve and track everything within our history log here as well. So I would like to suggest it is a quite end-to-end solution to managing your candidates. You can, of course, set up your own pipeline stages, drag and drop, move them across, trigger emails and alerts to those candidates, as well as your team members internally as well, with the goal of being able to flag someone that you want to potentially hire. And of course, that will allow them to be able to transition as an employee within the application. At that point, you of course will allow them to potentially log into the application and move to a onboarding stage. And that is part of our core functionality that I didn't touch on, which is being able to automate the onboarding process as well as the onboarding process. And that's a key aspect that I found in working with our customers, that of course, spreadsheets, these are the 10 things that need to be done before they start, the 5 things that need to be done after they start, and various things within different timeframes of the start date. And that all could be set up through automating the onboarding as well as offboarding as well. A quick look at the automation that you'd be able to set up. In my case here, I've set up various tasks. You collect a starter package, assign that to someone in finance or in HR, have a company policy that needs to be sent out 10 days in advance or 5 days after start date to that employee, send that actual document out, require specific training, induct them into the kitchen and have that training wrapped up. You could see a lot of flexibility and customization on being able to configure what your particular needs are. I may request my employee within 5 days of their start date to be able to provide their emergency contact information. Again, giving your staff the empowerment to log in and enter that information or update it as well. You can set up those tasks, set up some workflows, and trigger them based on dates, times, data that's either being added or updated within the application as well. So that's a look at our automation. And we do have this other area here that I'll just quickly touch on, recipes, a fancy way of automating some of the other aspects of the application. I've chosen to set up a birthday reminder, reading the birthday date on all of my employees and flagging that I want to send an email to that person's manager 5 days before the event and mail merging some content in there, letting them know that it's a certain person's birthday on a certain date. And hey, you'll want to organize that team lunch for that person virtually or in person as well. Again, rich flexibility in creating that automation. With that, I do want to make sure we have an opportunity to answer a lot of the questions that I see are coming in. So I'll end that for us here. And what I'd like to do is touch briefly on our Sage 300 payroll connector that we've set up. So of course, those of you who are on this call are Sage 300 payroll subscribers. You're using Sage 300 and using that payroll functionality. Today, what we have is the ability for you to have employees created in payroll based on the fact that they've been added in Sage HR, as well as synchronize any of the data around their employee information. So their mailing information, emergency contact details, rich information that I had highlighted sits within their employee record will automatically update within the payroll functionality. That's the current state that we have today, and our interest is to further develop that during the course of the year as well. And a common question is around timesheets. So timesheets is an add-on module, and we expect some functionality to be added and enhanced to allow those approved timesheets to then flow into your Sage 300 payroll. I do want to reiterate that's not available today, but it is some functionality that is key to us being able to introduce to our team members, our customers as well. So that timesheet information that's logged and submitted, you'll want to be able to see that potentially in the Sage 300 payroll interface as well, which will, of course, flag if that employee had some time off and which policies that they actually dive into. A very quick look at reporting here. A lot of rich dashboards and robust reporting capabilities, predefined, out of the box information is available here, but you do have the ability to create custom reports based on any of those custom questions that you've created and custom fields that you've added to the employee records as well. Very quickly here, if I look at timesheets, you might want to see the status of your timesheets. Have they been submitted? Are we waiting on approvals? Who do we need to bug and make sure that they add that information so that they can get paid out accordingly? And so you can see AJ's is approved while we're still waiting on a few of our team members here. And of course, a lot of these reports are exportable as well. So I hope that gives you some insights on Sage 300 and our interest to further enhance that and what functionality is available today. Before we dive into some of those questions, I do want to touch on another poll, if it's okay at this point. Looking to ask the question, what's your plan on looking at a new HR management software? Some of you indicated you don't have a solution today. You're using pen and paper and spreadsheets, or potentially using another solution as well. Interested to get some feedback on just understanding where you might be at stages of subscribing to a new solution. And what I'll do now is just throw that question out there, a few options, and I'd ask for those on the call to go ahead and respond to that. We'll leave that up for a couple moments as well. And while we're doing that, I'll take a look at some questions here we have. I see a few responses have come in. We'll leave that on the screen for a few more moments. Provide a response on what timelines might you have around looking at a new solution. And a few questions. I'm going to close the poll for us now. Again, thanks again for answering those questions along the way on our conversation today. We're looking at a question here. We have one here around policies being able to accrue 1 year and the next year and having it put into a bank and be able to set a end date. And is there functionality around that? And I do want to say, yes, there is. I hope I demonstrated that at a high level, that the policies can be set up individually to have carryover for a certain amount and expire at a certain time frame in the new year, so that you're not allowing them to use those. And those carryover days are tracked, and in reporting you'd be able to identify how many days will expire at 60 days or 30 days or 90 days or 10 months into the new year, as well. What are the new days that they were granted, which will not expire till the next year, again, 30, 60, 90, or 10 months, whatever it is defined by your organization. So you have the ability to track that as well. A question around the core functionality and the additional modules that we highlighted. And I'll just touch on that while we're here to reiterate. We haven't talked about a few of the pricing components on that, but to touch on that here. Let's see if I can jump on this page here. Let's drill back into that here. And so our core functionality out of the box allows you to leverage the core HR modules and the leave management interface, the ability to set up policies and have your staff log in and consume those and track them, document management, assets, compensation, access to the mobile app, logging training information, automating onboarding, offboarding, as well as those recipes that I talked about, all part of the core functionality. These additional topics here, performance, shift scheduling, timesheets, expenses, and recruitment are the add-on modules that customers may choose to enable or disable. And our pricing is based on a per dollar amount per employee that's active in your organization per month as well. So everything is billed monthly automatically by credit card. You may wish to add new employees, remove employees if they've been terminated, or sorry, not remove, but disable them, as well as subscribe or unlist certain modules at any given point. So quite flexible in the pricing, and you can clearly calculate what you're going to be charged in the given month. With that said, you might say, let's use core HR with the leave management functionality, add on timesheets, but not for all in staff. We only want that for a subset. You'd only be billed accordingly for those that are using that particular module, as well as shift scheduling as well, or expenses. You only may want the executive staff to have access to submit expenses, and you'll only be billed for those accordingly. And that said, you certainly have the ability to sign up for a trial, completely free 30-day trial on our website. You can navigate to sage.hr and access the information around pricing, our solution, as well as not only sign up for that trial, but you'll have the opportunity to engage either myself or my team on setting up a direct one-on-one conversation to have a deep dive demonstration, learn more about your interests in using the application, what pain points you specifically have, and how you might wish to transition to using Sage HR. And I'm happy to be available for that conversation. You'll have information available to you shortly on how you can engage me directly on further discussion around that as well. I hope that answers the question around that one. And see some questions around timesheets and being able to split days and take time off for a half day. And yes, certainly that is functionality that is available. So reiterating the interest where an employee might take a half day off. If that's submitted through leave request and was approved, it will deduct those X number of hours for the day, and the staff member can still log timesheet information against the other day. So work 4 days, take 3 hours off. Sorry, work 3 hours and take 4 hours for time off. They can certainly do that. And I hope that was visible there previously, but on the time off request, you'd be able to flag the whole day, a part of the day, and if it is part of the day, is it the morning or afternoon, or submit multiple days off as well. Another question around support. Yes, no cost additionally for support and implementation. Interesting question around email notifications. Going out to managers, yes, so you can configure, do you want managers to be the ones that approve time off requests, to approve expenses that are being submitted, as well as approve timesheet information. You can pick and choose who they are. if they're the default manager of the employee, and that would trigger a notification directly in the inbox. What's great about that is they can click on that link, automatically one-click approve or review the details, and then within Sage HR, approve it or decline it, or add some comments that will get sent back to the employee submitting that request. And there's a question around personal information. Can we limit that? Yes, you could certainly limit what personal information you want your staff to see and edit. Employee information that shouldn't be visible by anyone or only restricted to managers and admins can certainly be configured in the application as well. With that, we're at the 2-minute mark on ending this session. I'll just open that up. Any other questions for that we've seen there? And Rob, I'm sure you have the ability to see some of the questions too. Anything else that's out there that we may want to answer that I may not have touched on that stands out? There. See that. Well, what I will do is with that, open that up here and just kind of reiterate some next steps for yourselves that are on this call or watching this recording. Feel free to book a one-on-one product tour with myself. Give me the opportunity to learn more about your particular needs and pain points and how that might be applied to use within Sage HR to help improve the process. You'll see the link on the screen, but you'll certainly have that in your inbox and you'll be able to book my time directly. As well as go ahead and sign up for a free trial. As I mentioned, 30-day trial, all inclusive. You can use everything that you like, see if it's a good fit for you, and then potentially book some time with me as well. That said, I want to take this opportunity between Rob and myself to thank everyone for joining this call. Rob, any last words on your end you want to add?
No, I appreciate that, AJ. I think that was a great demonstration of the Sage HR Cloud, and you really went through a lot of that in detail in a short period of time. So I encourage any of our customers, if interested, I mean, great group to work with. If you want to take a further look at the Sage HR Cloud, or if you want to try out that trial, absolutely go give it a try. So thanks again.
That's great. I hope this was useful for everyone. And again, we look forward to following up with any additional questions that may come along the way. Feel free to engage myself or Rob directly, and it'll be our pleasure to work with you all individually as well. Bye for now, everyone. Enjoy, take care, and stay safe.